All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving our praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Qudash. I like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today, this is going to be a lesson on, the similarities between America and ancient Rome. Excuse me, Slakia. I found myself, thinking about this, at the plantation the other day, so I put it in Chat GPT, what are the similarities of America and ancient Rome? And then, of course, I listed, the similarities between, both of these places, So I'm just going to go into this, then bring out a couple of scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And it says, America, the United States, and ancient Rome shares several significant similarities across political, cultural, military, and social-like dimensions. And it says here are some of the most often discussed parallels. So it says Republican foundations. Rome started as a monarchy, then transitioned to a republic 509 BCE, governed by a Senate and elected officials. It says U.S. founded as a republic with a constitution, a Senate, and elected representatives. It says similarity. Both systems are based on representative government, rule of law, and checks and balances. So that's one way, or that's, one thing that America and ancient Rome have in common. Their political systems, because it's like back then, ancient Rome, they had the plebeians and the patricians, if I'm saying that correctly. What do you have today? Democrats and Republicans. It's the same thing, So it says expansion and military power. Rome built a vast empire through conquest and military dominance. The U.S. became a global superpower through military strength, foreign intervention, and alliances. Both projected power far beyond their borders and maintained large professional military. So, right, man, it's another thing. They're military, man, because again, just like, Rome, the Romans conquered the known world during that time. What does America have, man? Their military bases, Now, the American army today in 2025 isn't as great as it used to be, but still, man, during during World War II, especially when, America dropped those bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it was a force to be reckoned with, man. No one wanted to go to war. No one wanted to go to war with America, And then they have, I forget how many military bases set up all over the world, man, in these different places. So again, this is how America established its power, or part of the reason, or it's lucky. I'll say that's part of how America established its dominance, in the world, through its military, So it says legal influence and citizenship. It says Rome developed a complex legal code, extended citizenship to many conquered peoples. U.S. has a detailed legal system influenced by Roman law and a system of citizenship with rights and protections. Similarity, legalism, and extension of civic identity played major roles in maintaining cohesion. So again, the same thing, man. The court system, the citizenship that they have, man, it's the very same thing. This is how America is Rome all over again, man, because America takes after Rome, Even though America takes after every ancient kingdom that rose and fell, it primarily takes after ancient Rome and Egypt, But again, the primary focus is ancient Rome, man. But you see, this is what we see. America is Rome all over again. Next one, it says cultural integration and diversity. Rome absorbed cultures from across the empire, Greek, Egyptian, etc. The U.S., known as a melting pot of cultures due to immigration and globalization. Both were and are multicultural and integrated various traditions and religions into their societies. So again, man, it just said that, you know, the Greeks were, absorbed into the Romans because again, they were the same people, Edomites, not the original Greeks, but, excuse me, Slakia, but, that's why it's called the Greco-Roman Empire, because the Greeks, are eventually absorbed by, the Romans. And then again, it also took after, the Egyptian, customs as well, man. That's one reason why you have, a city in Egypt named after Alexander the Great, Alexandria, Egypt, which he was a Greek, but still he was an Edomite, man, And again, America is Rome all over again, because just like they had many different people in ancient Egypt, they had many different people in Rome, man. And what do you have today? It said it, America is a melting pot because you have all these different nations that dwell in this land, Next one, it says infrastructure and innovation. Rome, known for roads, aqueducts, and engineering marvels. The U.S. developed massive transportation and communication networks, interstates, internet, etc. Similarity, infrastructure, and technology advancement were key to unifying vast territories. And again, man, it just goes to show you that America takes after Rome. America is Rome all over again. It's just in modern times. We have technology. Now, obviously, I'm sure they had technology back then, but it wasn't as advanced as it is today, So it says economic inequality and political tension. Rome faced rising inequality, corruption, and political unrest in its latter years. That sounds familiar now, doesn't it? Sounds like what's happening today. Says the U.S. grapples with increasing wealth disparity, partisanship, and political gridlock because, again, there's a wealth gap between the rich and the poor. Right now, the middle class is pretty much done with, but overall, the middle class is what's keeping America going, That means, they're not poor, but they're not rich either. It's like, they're in between, So it says similarity. Internal divisions and elite control have sparked concern about decline. Man, oh man. And this is what's happening. You have liberals versus conservatives, Christians versus, obviously the Hebrews, you also have, these different, political stances, people that are for Trump, people that are against him. Again, man, you have these different divisions that are here in America, which is eventually going to lead up to a civil war. But what does it say? It's elite control. Who controls America? The elites, man. Those royal families, if you will, the Rothschilds, the Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, just to name a few, they control this place, and they are purposely going to collapse this place to bring about their new world order, And the last one, it says global influence and soft power. Rome dominated the ancient world politically, economically, and culturally. Again, it says that it's the same thing that America is doing today. It has dominated the world politically, economically, and culturally. Now, obviously, America isn't the richest, country, because America has made countries like China rich, you know, because America is the biggest consumer nation, and it gets most of its goods from different countries, It says U.S. experts, global influence through media, finance, and diplomacy. Says both serve as cultural and ideological beacons to the wider world, right? And where is the New World Order going to come out from? Where is going to be, that main hub for the New World Order here in America, man? Because America is Babylon the Great. America is Rome all over again, man. And these were just some of the comparisons that it had, right? And then, it says, would you like a deeper look? So, yeah, I put yes. So, again, it says the structure, ancient Rome, republic and senate councils, rule of law, Roman law, 12 tables, says citizenship, expanded gradually to conquer people. Says the United States structure, republic with Congress and president, U.S. bill, it's like a U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, says birthright and naturalized citizenship. Similarity, representative democracy, codified legal systems, says inclusive nationality identity. So, right, anybody can be an American as long as they have American citizenship. It doesn't matter where you're from. Either you're born here or you're not, But again, says military power, ancient Rome, professional legions, conquest, territorial expansion, conquer Europe, North Africa, and Asia, foreign policy, Pax Romana, peace through power. Says the United States, largest modern military global bases, again, has military bases set up all over. Says acquired territory, global influence, says global policing, alliances, NATO, etc., NATO and the EU. Says similarity, dominance through military strength, grew into superpowers, stability via strength. And right, man, that's how these places have become superpowers. This is how America has become a superpower today, through its military, man, its dominance. So it says infrastructure and innovation, roads and travel, ancient Rome, vast network of Roman roads, engineering, aqueducts, concrete, architecture, urbanization, Rome as a mega city. Says the United States, interstate highway system, skyscrapers, space tech, internet, major metropolitan centers, similarity, connected large territories, engineering excellence, dense population hubs, man. Again, this you clearly see the similarities. Why? Because this is Rome all over again. It says concrete, man. That's the reason you have the term concrete jungle. I'll use New York City, as an example. It's nothing but, skyscrapers in New York, man. These very tall buildings, it's concrete everywhere. This is how we're in Rome all over again, just in modern times, man. It's going to get a couple more. So it says culture and society, ancient Rome, multicultural empire, entertainment, Colosseum gladiators, religion, pagan Christianity. The United States, immigration-based society, Hollywood, sports, mass media, religious freedom, Christian roots. Similarity, cultural melting pots, again, different nations dwelling in these lands. Mass entertainment culture, religious evolution, and pluralism, right? So again, this is how you know America, again, is Rome all over again. So just real quick, I just wanted to show this. So it says, how Rome had the Colosseum, the gladiators, those different gladiator games, man. Again, just look at this, and they featured this in, I forget, it was either a TV show or a movie, I forgot. We was watching it like a little while ago. But this very Colosseum, man, was featured in that movie or TV show, But again, what do you have today? Sporting arenas, So again, I'll do out here, right? In Detroit. You have the Little Caesars Arena. Look, man. Look. It's like you have those Roman Colosseums. Look, it's the same thing all over again, man. These different athletes that you see there, the modern day gladiators. Bread and circus, it's the same thing all over again, man. It's the same thing. This is how you know we're in Rome all over again, man. So, let's come back. Let's grab this last one. It says challenges and decline. Ancient Rome, economic equality, huge wealth gap, elite control, same thing you have today. It says political corruption, bribery, power struggles, same thing today. Social unrest, civil wars, populism, that's coming soon. It says overexpansion, costly to maintain vast empire. And again, man, it's costing a lot of money to maintain this place, And that was back then, how much more now, But this is the United States. Rising income inequality, partisan gridlock, lobbying issues, protests, polarization, costly foreign commitments. It says similarity, class divisions and unrest, distrust in institutions, internal conflict, sustainability challenges. So again, man, this just goes to show you that we are in Rome all over again, man. We're in Rome all over again. This is Rome revived. And anybody that tries to say that America is not Rome revived doesn't know what they're talking about. Because this, this just went into everything. The similarities of these two kingdoms, it's the same damn thing. One is just ancient, the other one is modern. That's the only difference, man. Other than that, it's the same thing all over again. So I'm just going to get a couple scriptures. I'm going to get the book of Revelation chapter 13 and verse 3. And it says, "And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast." And right, what was that deadly wound that was healed? Ancient Rome. Ancient Rome fell. But what happened? It was revived. How? Here in America, America or Rome was healed through America, man. You see it. America is patterned after ancient Rome. The infrastructure, the political system, the entertainment, the culture, everything, man. It's patterned after this place, So I'm going to jump to verse 12, Revelation 13 and 12. And it says, "And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. And again, is that not what America has done? You know, it's influenced the world to, follow after its ways. And we're seeing that, these different nations are revolting and coming up against, the customs of this place because they don't agree with it. But again, what did ancient Rome do? It conquered the known world during that time through its military. What has America done? Conquer the known world through its military, man. Now, obviously, today, you have these different nations like China, Russia, North Korea, they have, increased their military might, because again, they're all going to come up against this place, But again, it just goes to show you that America is Rome all over. It's Rome revived, man. You can't convince me otherwise, man. That, is the image of the beast, America taking after ancient Rome, and I'll grab verse 14 and 15, and it says, or it's like 13, 14, and 15. Verse 13, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And right, what is one way Esau has done that? By dropping those nukes on Japan or on those Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and even those other, cities that they dropped bombs on that they didn't mention. Those were the two, notable ones, which again in August of this year will be 80 years since that incident took place, in 1945. But again, man, that's what this man has done. He has conquered the world through his military. During that time, no one wanted to go to war with America because of the technology that it possessed. Now everyone has that very same technology, and not everyone, but the current list of nuclear armed nations, which are 10 now, excluding America, all 9 of these nations all possess the same technology. They all have nuclear missiles, Verse 14, and he deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. Again, ancient Rome fell, but was revived through America and took after those same customs, and it went into those things, man. Chat GPT, it went into those things, Verse 15, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So right, man, again, America taking after ancient Rome, the political system, the culture, the entertainment, the legal system, everything is all patterned after Rome, man, And again, at the time that we're coming into, those that don't get down with the New World Order, he's going to seek to take them out, So again, this is how you know. It's the proof is irrefutable, man. You can't deny it, that we're living in Rome all over again, just in modern times, So I'm going to end it with Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 8. And it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. So right, man, America, aka Babylon the Great, modern day Rome, is falling, man. Because just like ancient Rome fell, America is falling. But the difference is ancient Rome wasn't destroyed by fire, but America is prophesied to be destroyed by fire in numerous verses, man. just to make mention in Joel 2, Joel 3, Revelation chapter 9, Isaiah, 63, when our Lord comes back, just to, name a few. But again, the main point is that America is ancient Rome all over again, man. And you see the similarities between these two kingdoms. That is the very same thing. The only difference between the two, one was in ancient times and one is in modern time, So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say Shalom.